Good evening, everyone. This is Mariha Akhtar, Secretary Press and Publication Wing, Dhaka University Research Society. It is with great pleasure that I'm here to welcome all of you in our second session of 2-month-long training course on Introduction to Research Methodology. This course has mainly been arranged for the members of Arts and Social Science team of Dhaka University Research Society. This training course undertaken by Dhaka University Research Society is divided into 3 parts. Team members from Science, Arts, and Commerce will have 3 separate segments, respectively, where each segment will consist of 8 classes. As a part of our first module, team members from Arts and Social Science are present today. These teams include Education and Research team, Art, History, and Culture team, Media and Gender Development team, Social Science team, Politics, Law, and Legal System, Where Peace and Security team, Social Work and Public Health team. We are proud to announce that in this training session, we have got some prominent. We are proud to announce that in this training session, we have got some of the prominent teachers and researchers from different renowned universities who are here to guide and share their knowledge and vast experience with the participants. We have got Dr. Mahesh Ranjan Debata, Professor at Center for Inner Asian Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, India. We have also got Debashish Nandi, Head and Associate Professor of Political Science Department, Kazi Nazrul University, Asansol, West Bengal. Professor Abdul Samad, Associate Professor, Department of History, Jagannath University, Dhaka. Professor Nasiruddin, Associate Professor, Department of Public Administration, University of Chittagong, and Kaji Samio Shesh, Senior Research Fellow, Karas, Center for Advanced Research in Art and Social Science, and Research Director, Dhaka University. This course will provide the participants with a good insight into the process of developing the effective methodology of research. It's a great privilege for the members of the respective teams to do the course fully free of cost. It is also to be mentioned that the members will be attending at least 80% classes will be 80%. Members of the respective teams will do the course fully free of cost. It will also be mentioned that members will be attending at least 80% classes will be given certificates and prizes at the end. Also, there will be assignments and a test over the classes at the end of the training. We had a class, we had already done a class, and in our last class, we had Professor Debashish Nandi, Professor of Political Science Department, Kazi Nazrul University, Asansol, West Bengal. In the session, Debashish Nandi sir discussed several criteria on the basic concepts of social research. He directed participants to find ways of selecting topic, preparing questionnaires, reviewing literature and fundamental aspects, searching information through books and prominent research work. Furthermore, he emphasized on having focused over one's work and building the research gaps using valid references. Before we go for our main session, I would like to request our Honorable President Ishtiaq Ahmed to deliver a welcome speech for our respectable guests and participants.
মারিহা, প্রেসিডেন্ট হয়তো বাইরে, বুঝছো? তুমি হলো গিয়ে স্যারকে সেশন শুরু করতে দাও, স্যার শুরু করুক, আমরা শেষে কথা বলবো না।
All right, moving into our next session. As Ishtiaq Bhai is not here, we are moving into our next session. Dear participants, we are very delighted to announce that our today's session will be conducted by Honorable Dr. Mahesh Ranjan Debata, Professor at Center for Inner Asian Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, India. He will be discussing on ethnographic study and its importance in social science research. Let us not linger the opening part and move to our honorable trainer. Now, I would like to request our distinguished chief guest, Professor Dr. Mahesh Ranjan Debata, to have his valuable discussion for the participants.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Let me congratulate you and my heartfelt thanks to the organizers, the Dhaka University Research Society. Such a galaxy of young scholars are there. I'm very honored to be part of this this program, and this will be basically a kind of discussion. There is no formal. I'll be presenting a slide for your benefit, and anytime you can stop me and you can ask me questions. I'll be very happy to. And as rightly pointed out by the gentle lady, my topic will be ethnographic study and its importance in social science research. Ethnographic. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Host disable participant screen sharing. Can you just enable the?
I think sir needs permission to
Yeah.
share the screen. Maruf, are you there? Siddiq Bhai, are you there, Bhai?
Apu, I'm here.
Please give permission to sir. He wanna share his screen.
Kindly let me know how long I can present how much time you are giving to me. Because I have prepared
স্যার
some.
স্যার
Yeah.
আপনি আপনার যতক্ষণ লাগে স্যার ততক্ষণ নেন, সমস্যা নেই।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. I have prepared some 21 slides which will be I think easy for the public.
মারুফ, তুমি হলো গিয়ে স্যারকে স্ক্রিন শেয়ারে একটু পারমিশন দিয়ে দাও, মারুফ বা হাসান।
জি ভাই, দেওয়া হয়েছে।
Right, thank you, Siddiq Bhai.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. I hope you can see my screen right now. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Something I think. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just start with the structure of my presentation here. And as you know, ethnography is an important part of social science research. And at the outset, I would talk about the classical ethnography, and to which we are indebted to Malinowski for giving us a wonderful exposition of what classical ethnography is. And then in the second part will be thick and thin descriptions. And if you don't understand anything, please let me know. I will explain bit by bit. And the third one is the crucial ethnographic terms for your benefit. And the fourth is ethnography in business. Typical aspects of ethnography is in the fifth part. Then there is ethnographic methodology, the pros and cons, and then ethnographic opportunity. And finally, major takeaways. And when you look at classic ethnography, the first and foremost is ethnic portrait. All the pioneers of classic ethnography, they talk about the ethnic portrait. Now you can see the picture, and where view of a people is the central theme of classic ethnography. And in this process of classical ethnography, extensive field work was needed, and it was advocated by none other than Malinowski and his disciples in the next few decades of the propagation of classical ethnography. And these are done in exotic places. The places, if you see, because most of the ethnic people, they live in some exotic places, like suppose you say, you must have heard about Andaman and Nicobar. There is a Zarwa tribe here in Andaman Nicobar, and many people from Bangladesh, you will find many people from Bangladesh in the Andaman Nicobar Islands of India. So they are living in area where you will find blue water, and then beautiful locations and greenery and scenic beauty as well. And in this classical ethnography, you need various forms of evidence, and with a holistic vision, the classic ethnography has been followed by so many ethnographers, scholars, and propagators of qualitative research method across the globe. And when we talk about classic ethnography, the founder of classic ethnography, the father of social anthropology, B.K. Malinowski. During the World War First era, he started the extended field work with close observation. You have to sit with the people, you have to make the as close observation as you can. Then personal participation, you have to participate, you have to talk to them, you have to listen to them. So, and then you have to use the native language and the local dialect is a must. If you do not know the local dialect, because even though the script of the local language is same, but the spoken language, spoken dialect is different. If you do not know the language, you will not be able to understand, and which will hamper your efforts to collect the primary research information for your research problem. And you have to be immersed in culture of there. You have to think like them, you have to drink like them, you have to walk like them, you have to literally, you have to be assimilated into their culture. And then only you will be able to the native views, the local views, the local information. You read something, but when you meet the people, you will give the clear picture, the native information from them. And the other one was who was the Malinowski's disciple, the most revered and most renowned English anthropologist during the mid 1920s. His writings were popular, and he preferred long field work. Extensive was extended by Malinowski, and now long field work. And again, he also preferred the way Malinowski wanted, that you should use the native language and the local dialect as well. And but one more dissimilarity, one unique thing about Sir E. Evans Pritchard was that he thought he used the children as the key informant. Sometimes what you happen that when you go to a family, you may not get the correct information, correct data, and any other whatever information you want. But when you talk to, suppose you ask some personal question. For example, you say, what have you eaten this morning? Many people, they don't tell. Okay, even though they go for the chawal, the bhat and mach, but they will not say that only bhat mach. They can add something else. But if you ask a child, if you ask a child informant, you will get the correct answer, because many people say that God is there in the heart of the child. So child, whatever the child says, he or she says the truth. And again, as Malinowski uttered, same thing Pritchard also said, that you should live like natives so that key information for your research can be accrued. Okay. And then, as I told in the structure of my presentation, there will be a thick and thin description. The pioneer of the main propagator of thick description in social science research is Clifford Geertz. He is an American cultural anthropologist. He did not buy the argument made by empirical arguments by the, suppose you say, the positivist. The thick description is not thin. He talked about interpretive theory. And in his masterpiece, The Interpretation of Cultures, the selected essays published in 1973, he talked about the interpretive theory, and the meaning should be cultural. So culture was the main function, the main focus, and specific to time and place, a particular period, a particular place, and meaning is equal to context, and it transcends positivism. It is just beyond positivism. I will talk about in the next slide. I will talk about the thin description given by the positivist, which is an alternative to the thick description. And when thin description, it is an alternative, positivistic alternative. It talks about study of actual behavior, no interpretation. I mean, in Geertz, you saw there is interpretation, but here there is, for example, I cannot know your mind, and absolutely no cultural context. See the difference. In thick, that is cultural context, that is interpretation, but here in positivistic alternative, there is no interpretation, there is no cultural, just the empirical facts. And sometimes it is useful, and it deals with repetitious responses. So we should know before we study the ethnographic study, make some ethnographic study, we should know what are the common, what are the crucial ethnographic terms. And then you see that EMIC, which is popularized by Kenneth Pike, and this is the informant's point of view. And then ethic, EMIC and ethic. Ethic was popularized by Marvin Harris, and he said researcher's point of view. That means EMIC and ethic mean informant's point of view and researcher's point of view. And the key informant is one who works closely with and influences the researcher. And culture, the aspects of human behavior and the thought that is learned. That means to be culture, it must be learned. So you need to have the learning process, and so that you can also be cultured. If you look at the EMIC ethic, what are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities? Particularly the dissimilarities in EMIC approach, you see it emphasizes differences between cultures. But when you look at ethic approach, it says it emphasizes similarities between the culture. There is differences, this is similarities. Behavior patterns unique to a culture. But in ethic approach, assumes behavior patterns are universal. Here it is unique, but here it is universal. And in EMIC approach, you get an insider perspective. But in ethic approach, you get an outside perspective. It is subjective, and ethic approach is objective. So objectivity, that is without any bias, without any prejudice. This is important in as far as social science research is concerned. So when we talk about ethnography in business, it is more focused in the present day era, because business anthropology, now many people were talking about social cultural anthropology, but since the 1980s, business anthropology has become an important part of anthropological studies. So it is shorter, brief, precise. It is less exotic. You can see here, you can see the first picture, how exotic this, but when you see this picture, this is less exotic. The gentle lady is working in the kitchen, okay, and the smaller part of life, the smaller slice of life, it talks about a particular situation. Excuse me. No cultural life profile. and it is being used by the practitioners, by the scholarly people and the academic people as well. The typical aspects of ethnography includes naturalistic, minimal manipulation. When you talk about ethnography, you go and influence your informant. But here say the minimal influence or zero manipulation. Flexible reporting should be the report you make, the analysis you make should be flexible. It is in the everyday context. Use various types of data. It is relatively small scale. So when we discuss the typical aspects of ethnography, these are some of the features of ethnography. So what are the multiple sources of data we use? Variety of data. Methods may include participant observation. The observation you make, sometimes participant and non-participant. Participant is that when you make any observation, your informant, your subject will also take part. Okay, sometimes what happens, you are making interviews, but the respondent doesn't respond. So there it is not participant, this is non-participant. Then the interviews also. That is an important part of the social science research. When you go, you talk to, because you, yeah. Any question?
Hello.
No, sir, I
Should
think
I
he was unmuted.
Should I continue?
Yes, sir, of course.
Yeah. Please stay mute. If you have any question, you can also put the question on the chat box, and you can stop me for the question as well. So interviews are important part of conducting the collection of data and collection of information for a social for a researcher. Surveys also, you have to make surveys. Now suppose you say all the companies, all the NGOs in the development sector, even in the government sector, they make survey. Before the election also, you see the political parties, they make surveys. Okay, and you have to have some beautiful pictures also when you go there. And suppose I am showing this one and there is no picture, you will not be able to understand. Now at least you see it should have some evidences. Okay, and now because of the digitalization of the world, entire world, now you have many forms of gadgets, electronic devices, so that you can videos, audios, blah blah blah, so you can use for. Earlier you have to
मिस हो गई हाँ 7 बजे और क्या ये कार्य
any problem? Okay.
No, sir.
Yeah. There is some actually. Please request the participant to stay mute. Okay. So what are the don'ts and do's also? Don'ts in ethnographic study, use yes or no questions. Don't do like this. Do's, open-ended questions. When you prepare your questionnaire, it should not be yes or no, because you are not collecting only data percentage. You are collecting their opinion also. When you want to do a research on a particular topic, you want the people's explanation, people's views, people's opinion, and don't put leading questions. Avoid prejudices and bias, because as I told you in few minutes ago, that objectivity is an important part of social sciences. You should maintain, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your caste, irrespective of your creed, sex, whatever. You should be objective. A researcher should be objective. He should maintain objectivity. Don't use jargon. Whatever I say, if you don't understand, if it is intelligible, unintelligible, then it doesn't make any point. It doesn't make any sense. So whatever you make, the question you make, that is why I say you need to be well versed in the local language. Sometimes if you use your own language, English language, Bengali language, or any other language, then if it is not intelligible, if it is not understood, for example, if you write a letter to your parents or brothers or sisters, whatever, you are studying in such a prominent university of Bangladesh, and if you are all across the globe, you know good English, but if you write the same to your parents, they don't understand, then it doesn't make any sense. So it should be social science research say the writing should be very simple, very concise, and intelligible. So don't use jargon. Speak their own language. This is the one of the do's. Speak their own language, because you have to collect information. You have to collect data. You have to collect their opinion. So you have to have the efficiency in their local language, local dialect also. Do not guide the informant. Sometimes what happens, you prepare the question, you go meet them, talk to them, and also tell that you do like this. Don't do that. Instead of that, one of the do's is that seek the informant's view, seek your subject's view, seek the person you meet, seek the person you interview, his or her view. That is more important. Ethnographic methodology is a multi-step process. In this process, the typical model includes 4 steps. Number 1, preparation. Number 2, field study. Number 3, analysis. Number 4, reporting. I will explain in more details in the next couple of slides. So the step 1 is preparation. Be familiar with what is to be studied, your subject, your topic, your research problem. Is it evolving or stable? You should know this. You should also know the current theories. Without theories, it will be very difficult to make any argument. How to set your hypothesis also. The number 2 is identify the goal. What is your task? You must know this one. Accordingly, you prepare the questions. As I told in the previous that the questions should not be yes or no questions, rather open-ended questions, so that you can seek the informant's view. Mitigate, contact the candidates. There are so many ways of contacting the candidates in the digital era right now. You can email them, you can call them, you can send messages on WhatsApp, Messenger, blah, blah, blah. You can also talk to them over phone. Okay. So these are the way you can contact the candidates. Mitigate any obstacle on your path, because you need a very swift process of research work. And important is the documentation methods. Whatever you inform, whatever information you get from the informant must be documented. And that becomes a very sensitive piece of a very important, significant piece of your primary research. Field work. Field work is the fulcrum, you can say, the central part of the ethnographic study. As I told you that you establish contact, then you establish rapport also. Without making a relationship, okay, without making any relationship with them, it is very difficult to get more and more information, sensitive information also. Sometimes they don't tell you. When they come to know that you are part of you want to highlight their problem. You have concerns and care for their issues they face. And fully documentation, I'm reiterating it, fully documentation of whatever information you get. And sometimes, even though you have digital, like you can record audio visual records also, but you should also take notes. Sometimes what happens, you miss something. So and let me just share with you, recently I met a group of Japanese delegation. They wanted to meet me, to talk to me with regard to some issue. So when they asked me, the first thing they requested me, can we write down whatever we discuss? I say, no problem. But on my part, if you see, and immediately, suppose I'm a little if I'm slow, they will stop me. They will just write down. If I'm in a very hurried manner, they will also stop me. They will take care. They will write every bit of, and that makes a lot of sense. If you miss something, suppose sometimes you were you are not attentive, even though your informant is saying many things, because sometimes they say something nonsense also, which is not required for you. So if you take notes, then this will not, you can have some more information. Transcribes notes soon. After meeting him or her, your interview, immediately come back, so that if you, sometimes what happens, you don't write down, you don't take note of everything. You just point it 1, 2, 3 and all this. Sometimes organization you put it org, some abbreviated forms, abridged form also, and immediately come and correct it, or else you will forget. This is also one of the, record their feelings also, their body languages also, their hunches also. There sometimes they make some predictions also, that this will happen if this step is not taken, and include as much detail as possible. And there are so many tools right now, digital equipment, gadgets, cameras, audio visual records also. And if you look at this picture also, how this gentle lady is making, and as I told in one of the slides earlier also, that you will get maximum important information from the children also. If you see the picture, the gentle lady is sitting with two small cute girls also. So they could be key informants also. So in this field work, these are some of the, there are many others also. If you ask me, then I say that you should always put your presence of mind when you go for this research work, because sometimes it becomes very situational. Sometimes the mood of your informant is not good. Sometimes he or she is, you need to have patience also. So patience should be there. And sometimes you need to be very careful also. And sometimes you need to be very, I mean, you have to listen there, whatever they say also. Some nonsense they say, some nonsense they utter. You have to bear with them. So the third one is, if you see this picture, field note system also you see. Okay, these are the important parts. Now, suppose you say you are using MacBook or computer, you are using a laptop and you are into this so many. There is a phone, there are your notes, Dropbox, Facebook, Flickr, so many other. Then you can also put the beautiful picture in the Instagram also. Then notes here. See how important the field note system also. You have a camera here. Now most of you are using the phone camera, because more than 48 most of the phone camera right now, they have the megapixel, 48 megapixel, 60 megapixel, so you can get better picture in your iPhone and others also. Then notebook, audio recorder, sticky notes also. Sometimes you forget, so immediately you put the sticky notes, and so that it is understood that this one is more important. So you have to be very careful when you make, you have a very systematic also when you make the field notes. So the third important aspect of ethnographic research study is compile the data, analysis part, compile the data, numerical data, textual data, multimedia data. The interview part is over. Now organizing whatever you collected information, you have to organize the data. You have to compile the data. So suppose there is need of a table, there is need of a pictorial graph, there is need of some text also, some multimedia information, you can use accordingly. quantification, statistical part also. So how many informants talk about the problems with regard to their socio-economic status? So that you can say. How many talked about their political affiliation? How many talk about their ideological part? Okay, yeah. Sarmin Akhtar, you are welcome.
Sir, sorry. Unfortunately, I click on the hand.
No problem. No problem. You are always
Sorry,
welcome.
sir, for
No
disturbing
problem.
you.
Absolutely no problem. So
Thank you, sir, for
quantification,
understanding.
it's okay. Statistical analysis, and then at the end, summarize, interpret, give your findings, give your recommendations, and then share with others also. This is a very interesting, because I don't know about much about the Bangladesh, how the research scholars, how the professors are doing in Bangladesh, because most of my friends in India, Pakistan, even in other parts also I have seen, they are so niggardly, they are very reluctant to share their research. But I have seen in the Western society, Western academic world also, how they will do. I had a very personal experience. You can say this is a kind of field information also. Once I was meeting one of my friends in Washington DC. He had invited some 7 to 8 people to his house. So there was a small get together, some go evening and some party, some food, some drinks, some whatever. My host told me that if you are free, then you can join also. So I went there. So he was preparing a manuscript for his book. He had already shared with these 7 of these people. And that day, you will not believe, all these 7 people with food and drink, they like whatever they had to say, they all shared with gentlemen. So that was the major feedback for your book, if at all. So that can be like some factual correction, some grammatical correction, some the theoretical part can be corrected also. So this is, so you need to share with others. If you don't need to share with, if you don't think that it is not necessary to share with others, then it will only be left with you alone. If you share, it can move from one person to another also, and then it can like touch so many people, and then only you can get the right feedback and revise as needed. Whenever you make the central argument, it is dynamic. Whatever you talked about your own country's economy 20 years ago, if you make that argument today, if you make that hypothesis, it can be changed. 20 years ago, Bangladesh economy was this, now it is this. Okay, so it is dynamic. So you have to revise. That is why you must have seen many important classical books. They are revised and updated and then published again. Second publication, third print, fourth print, whatever. It depends on the publisher and the author also. So you need to. The fourth is reporting. Suppose you are working in an educational institution, you have already taken a generous amount from your institution to conduct a research on a particular topic. When you come back, in that generous approval, one term condition is there. When after finishing your research work, field study, you come back home, come back to your university, then you have to report to your audience. Could be your students, audience could be your faculty colleagues, audience could be so many research scholars also, audience could be your university authority or the authorities working in the educational institutions. Catered to each. Scholars, whatever questions are there, you have to cater and answer their queries also. Use appropriate style. There is a style. You must have seen those who are doing their research at the doctoral level. There is a manual, research manual. For referencing, you see American Psychological Association manual. For that, you use Chicago manual also. Then you have your university manual also. So there is a manual, guidelines. So you have to follow that guidelines. When you submit your research to your university, your doctoral thesis or dissertation, so you have to follow a particular style, the appropriate style, and then the debriefing meetings also. Okay, these are some of the part of reporting. I will move to the next one. What is the when you make a comparison between the academics and the practitioners also? Academics, the scholars who follow this ethnographic and who are practicing this ethnographic study. Academic writings, they say it must be rigorous because you are doing a very thorough, intensive, detailed study. You go there and collect information, meet so many people, get their views, opinions, you look at their body language, so blah, blah, blah. Okay. But in practitioner writing, it is a rigor is viewed as a compromise, a trade-off. There's a no rigor, it's okay. It should be, suppose you say in business anthropology, in business, if you ask right now, this is the world of bullet points. Nobody is going to listen those big things you are talking about. Point wise. Now also you see, I have, suppose I say it must be rigorous, how it is rigorous. When I explain, it's fine. But when I mention in the slides, it is bullet points. Suppose you ask a businessman, you give a proposal that now we are going to, with your help, we are going to build a factory or an industry somewhere in near Dhaka. So the first thing you will say, you will ask you the feasibility. Second thing is profit, because profit is the first and foremost motive of the business. So that is why the rigor is viewed as trade-off. It takes more time. As you see from Malinowski to Pritchard, then to Girj also, you say, they talk about like extended field work. It will take a lot of time. Sometimes you have to go first, second, third, fourth times also. Because in first time, you may not establish that rapport. You may not get whatever information you want. So you have to go. It is time consuming. It is also very expensive, you can say. And in practice, for practitioner, it is action oriented. It should be implemented, means implemented. You went there, collected information, came back, you gave this information, let us implement this, action oriented. And then academic writing talks about that it is permanent. That is why for the last 100 years, you have been studying Malinowski. Whatever he has talked about social cultural anthropology, you have been studying for the last 100 years. How many business houses you remember in the last 20 years, 15 years? But here you see, it is a permanent contribution. This is for short-term gain, long-term gain also, you say. So that is why when you talk about ethnography, Malinowski's name comes. When you talk about thick and thin, thick, then the name of Girj also comes. So that is why it is. What are the pros and cons of ethnographic study? Advantages and disadvantages. The pros, advantages, real world data. You get the real information because you visited those people there. Personally, you visited, met so many people. Suppose now you want to do a research on, suppose you say a particular tribe in your country, their living standards, their food habits, their costumes. You go there, see, take their picture also, then come back, you say, real world data. In-depth perspective, detailed, given in threadbare discussion. It gives people a voice because you are talking about the people. Suppose you go there, see that the tribal people in a particular area in your country, they have been languishing for the last 50 years. After independence also, you see, There is no electricity. In most of the developing society you go, there is no basic amenities, be it Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, or African countries also, other Asian countries also. So there are no basic amenities being provided despite the 50 or 70 years of independence also. So there, when you come back, you say that this village dominated by more than 200 tribal people, ethnic people, doesn't have electricity connection. Now the ministry in your country or a particular department or the district headquarters, district administration also, they will take care of these things. So message is gone. Or what you can say, as I told in the reporting also, you can write a piece in the newspapers, local newspapers, online magazines also, online portals also, blogs also, you can mention. So the message goes there. It goes to the world, entire world. Suppose somebody is working on your area, you have collected so many information. He from Netherlands, or as far as you can say New Zealand, Australia, they are working on you. They will contact you. They will email you. They will be in touch with you. They will also make a visit to your country and also say that please accompany me to this place so that we can collect money. He will request you to write a joint paper also. So these are some of the advantages, you know. What are the disadvantages, as I told? Time consuming. So many times you are visiting their place. So many times you are going to establish rapport. So many times you are going there, you are spending a lot of money also. Suppose your university or your particular organization or an agency or a funding organization gives some kind of some amount to do a research on this, and you go there so many times, you also have to spend from your own pocket. Researchers' impact. Findings are generalizable, okay, and okay for some complex issue. It is not okay. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sir, what
Yes.
do you mean by researcher impact? Does it mean something subjective?
Pardon, can you just repeat the question?
Well, you have mentioned that researcher impact.
Yeah.
What do you mean by researcher impact? Does it mean something like subjective?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, it is
Okay,
subjective.
Sir, I have two other questions to you. If you don't mind, then I can ask you. Or if you would like to move forward, then I will ask you later.
As you wish. I can also take up the question right now.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Can you please further clarify the differences between emic and ethics?
Okay.
I could not catch it up clearly. And also, can you explain when should we use leading questions and when not? Not just in ethnography, but in other methods of research.
Okay. Thank you. So should I answer right now or should I answer at the... I have already noted down.
Okay, all right.
I think I have a couple of more slides, then I will answer your question if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Only, yeah, only a couple of slides, so don't worry. And so the next is your ethnographic opportunities. At the academic level, you see it is currently respected. Malinowski is respected. His work is respected. It is one of a kind. The work of Pritchard, work of Gears, and so many others are there also. I had the opportunity to meet some of the well-known anthropologists long back in 2013 in a conference, well-known anthropologists, and from Netherlands, from Poland, from from Portugal, from USA, from UK, from China also. So those were big names in the world of anthropology. And there also I learned many things from them with regard to this ethnographic study. Okay, particularly in the context of business anthropology. So they are currently respected. And today's research agenda, because many of the organizations, companies, particularly the market analysis companies, now they are hiring, have you heard of this? They are hiring anthropologists.
No.
Yes. The suppose you see the opinion poll agencies, and then the marketing research organizations, companies, multinationals, so they are hiring the anthropologists also. And to my utter surprise, a gentleman from Netherlands also, he was here in Gurgaon in India. There is a management university. So he was invited. He's an anthropologist. So he was invited by the and then he got a good offer from a market research company too. So this is the and then more journals also, academic, because these are when you sometimes what happened, as I told you in the reporting part also, you like you publish your pieces also, small pieces also, blogs also, then finally at the end you like put all together and then also bring out a good book about your research also. And if you look at the practitioner also, there is a long history of use of this ethnographic study. Now many research firms, as I told you, and on client demand also, that ethnographic studies should be part of the. Let me just give you some example of this. For example, suppose you make a visit to someone's house to conduct a study on their what they had in their breakfast this morning. You may not get this. Sometimes you may, because you are an unknown person to them. For your research, you are going to their house, so they may not give you the correct information. They will say, okay, rice, fish curry, or some okay, some sweets. But sometimes you don't, they do not tell you the right okay, or the or breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So what you do as a very systematic researcher, as a a very good observer also, you go and check their dustbin also. You see this dal they have used, this fish they have used also. You can take a sample, you can come back, you can go to the see what kind of fish is this. Okay, so this kind of, and particularly in the industries, particularly in the the agencies, the MNCs also, on demand of the client. Now many ethnographers, many anthropologists, they are given opportunities. So what are the major takeaways of this? I'll be ending with this slide. Ethnography started as a scholarship. Long, slow fieldwork is one of the most important features of this work. Conducted in exotic places also, beautiful places with beautiful views, scenic views also. Business has embraced ethnographic method. Streamlined and shortened also, applied to business needs. Both, it is meant for both scholarly and practitioner applications also. Now somebody dubbed it, one of the professors dubbed it, it is a hot methodology right now. And many opportunity to publish your scholarship across the globe. I will stop here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm really grateful to the Dhaka University Research Society. If any question, any observation, any remark, welcome, and I will answer them. There are a couple of questions, but let us open the floor and then we'll. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for all the information you have shared with us. Through your discussion, we have come to know that how ethnography, being a dynamic study, helps us to access our own culture. I hope all the participants I'm sure all the participants have found it informative. Sir, we have some questions in chat box.
Okay.
I would like to read them out on behalf of the participants.
Okay.
Jonaki Das Jui has asked, can you please clarify the concept that what do you mean by the word objectivity?
Yes, yes, yes.
You told that we need to maintain objectivity regarding
Yes, yes, yes.
this ethnographic
Yeah.
research.
Yeah. Okay, let me just start with objectivity. I say objectivity in social science research, one of the most important features is objectivity. Objectivity is to maintain impartiality. When you do a research, suppose now you do a research in about your hometown. Something wrong you find there, something wrong practice is going on, traditional wrong practice is going on. Since you belong to that village, that is your mother, you can say, your motherland also, you can say, your hometown, you can say. And then when somebody asks you about that problem, for example, poverty. Suppose somebody says that this village, X village, is very poor in Bangladesh or India or any part of the world. You belong to that, but you do not want. Okay, or suppose say some suppose you say that some this village is very unpopular. The people are not good. Amongst the people, your own parents, friends, brothers are also there. So you will not say many things about, even though you know that they are unpopular, and you also know the reason for why the village is unpopular, but you will not say anything about your village. There is a class between your village, your interest, okay, and then your research interest also. Now you are not impartial, you are partial. So research says that you have not to be prejudiced. Let me just make a little more clarification. Suppose religion wise also. Suppose somebody makes some remark about your religion, okay, or some very objectionable remarks about your religion, you come to know. Sometimes what happens, because that we are so ensconced with our religion that we do not say anything against our religion. But as a social science research say that you have to be objective. Okay, suppose you say some traditional bad practices, wrong practices are going in, social evils are also there. We belong to the same in Indian subcontinent also. There are so many social evils also there. Suppose you say dowry is also there. Suppose you say the child marriage also there, many places also. So if somebody says that your village, your district, your state is unpopular because they believe in child marriages, that is there, you do not say anything about it. So that shows your partiality. You are not impartial when you see. But sometimes what happens, that because of our ideological leaning, because of our political affiliation, we could not be able to 100% impartial. But the first and foremost thing the social science research says is that you need to be impartial, unprejudiced, unbiased, irrespective of your religion, caste, creed, sex, or any other. Hope you understood.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question. Mir Oli Hassan has asked, what is the maximum size of a survey should be?
Yeah, that is dependent on the researcher. Okay, because when you do a study, you prepare a framework. Suppose you are you want to work on the election process in a particular district. So there, how many people in the election process, the government, the politicians, who are the destiny makers in our country, you involve some politicians, that could be the member of parliaments also, some cabinet ministers also. Then you have, suppose you say, some bureaucrats also. Then at the grassroots level also, you have some gram panchayat representatives, some block representatives, Some these people also. So many people. So the sample depends on the researcher. In consultation with your supervisor, with your guide also, you can prepare, and it depends on your needs also. So how many samples you will take, it depends, the size of sample, it depends on you. So accordingly you prepare. And if you take a big sample, it will take a hell lot of time also, because when you meet a cabinet minister, you need to get appointment from him. When you meet a district collector, 15 days before you have to take the appointment. So that is very important, that it depends on you. Okay, you are the, if you ask me, you are the best judge of your research. But before you prepare the framework, you know the sample size also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from
Yeah.
Jinia Sultana. Instead
Yeah.
of taking notes, can we use audio recording?
Yes. You should. I have also clearly mentioned that you can take the audio recording, you can take some visuals also, you can some audio, both audio visual. But why I suggested audio, the taking note is an old traditional method. But why I suggest that you should always have, suppose I say your phone battery is gone, your audio visual devices, they are now down, battery is gone. So how would you do that? But you have gone to meet a minister, so you may not get any second. So that is, you should always keep and sometimes what happens that as I told you, when there is a long discussion, long interview, 1 hour, 2 hour, sometimes you also, both the participant, interviewer also, they get bored. So sometimes what he tells, what he suggests, you don't remember also. So if you have a pen and paper, then you can immediately note down. I will, but again I say, you are the best judge. It depends on you whether you will make, because, and sometimes also what happens, you know, and suppose you have recorded the audio, there is some technical glitch, now everything is gone, your month-long effort gone in smoke. Okay, so that is why if you have a paper, at least some main topics, important highlight topics can be highlighted, just headings also, just okay. And even during the, suppose you say now when we attend the webinar, we make some presentation also. Sometimes suppose you say you are putting questions, I remember everything. No, I also note down. Sometimes when you say something, I also note down. So my suggestion is you should always carry a notebook with a pen, both traditional and the digital way also. You can use both traditional. If you miss something in the note, you can find it in the digital. If you miss something in the digital, you can find it in the traditional. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, sir, for all the answers you have provided with patience.
Yeah.
And also thanks to the participants who have asked questions.
I'm just one thing. Actually, some gentleman had asked a couple of questions about emic and ethic. I will come to emic and ethic later on. Let me just about leading questions also. When you prepare, when a researcher prepare the questions, there are some lead questions, there are some tail questions. For example, suppose you ask, what is the political condition of Bangladesh today? Suppose you talk. Now the minister or your informant gave so many things. Then there is a tail question. Suppose he, during that a particular party he talks about. Then you can also add a tail question. So lead questions should be there. There should be some follow-up, some supplementary questions also there. Some you can say some tail questions should be there. So there should be some, suppose there is a half-an-hour interview, you prepare some 5 to 7 or half a dozen leading questions along with some tail supplementary questions as well. As far as the emic and ethic is concerned, as I told you, the similarities and the dissimilarities. Emic talks about the differences between cultures, between the cultures. Ethic talks about the similarities. So one talks about the differences, the other talks about similarities. It talks about the behavior patterns unique to a culture. For example, suppose you say a particular tribe in Africa, suppose you say, in Congo, you say, a particular view, they are good dancers. Okay. But if you go to the ethic approach, they say almost all the tribes in Congo, they are good dancers. So here is a unique part. Now they talk about the generalized part, the universal part also. In the emic approach, they give the insider perspective, and the ethic, they give the outsider perspective. The emic is subjective and the ethic is objective. So these are some of the about emic and ethic. And if you still have not understood, please let me know so that I can. So what is objective and subjective? As I told you, objectivity I have already explained. Okay. And in emic, you see the insider view you get. Suppose I say, now I am going to your country to conduct. You give me some information. You gave the insider view, emic view. When I gave your view to the world, that is an outsider view, ethic view. Did you understand? Hope I could be able to explain your answer, to comply to your answer and answer all your queries also. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. You have been much patient with the questions of the participants. And also, I'm thanking all the participants and members of Dhaka University Research Society. Let us meet in the next session that will be held tomorrow, and there we will have another prominent figure, Nasiruddin, Associate Professor, Department of Public Administration, University of Chittagong, and you will have to join in the same link. Let us meet tomorrow. Stay safe, and that's all for today. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.